Hi there. We're going to go over the syllabus. So I'm in the module on Canvas on the hub, and we have this getting started in the spring 26, and we're going to go through the syllabus here. So just kind of a few things on the expectations for the class. Let me enlarge this here. All righty. So spring 2026 online, I'm your instructor. My office, on the Sheridan campus. This is W is the Whitney building. Again, I've told this in the last video, my cell. Here's my email. Classroom is online, asynchronous. You kind of work at your own pace and watch the videos for the class. Let's see, my office hours, Mondays and Wednesdays from 11 to 1 in the Math Center, which is on the second floor of the Whitney Building in Sheridan. So if you are available at that time, it'd be great if you could come by and get some help if you have any questions or by appointment. Now, if you can't make these times, we can do an appointment, we can Zoom. And if you do decide to Zoom, here's my Zoom link to my Zoom room. And then I can also email this to you before we meet. And then the YouTube lessons that I have are, this is a link to get there, but there's easier ways, and I'll explain that in the how to use Canvas video. So here we have a description of the class, and it's required for certain other classes to get into, 1500, business math, problem solving, just some prerequisites. Now, this right here, as far as a textbook is optional. What is not optional, what is required is access to Pearson My Math Lab, which is an online platform. It's online software. The course ID number is right here. So the main thing is that if you ever have to contact Pearson because something's not working right, they're going to ask you for the course ID number, so you'll need to have that. And but again, I have a detailed video on how to register with Pearson, and then I have a detailed video on how to use Pearson. So you can watch those in the Welcome to Class. Now, grading. 35% are exams, and there are 5 exams. And when you do these 5 exams, I use a lockdown browser for those called Respondus. And if you look at week 1, you will find a optional practice test that will allow you to download Respondus to take your exams. And it's a 1 question optional, and it would be great if you could do that and not wait until the day you decide to take an exam, and then all of a sudden your computer's not letting you download it and you have some issues. We will have a midterm. It's worth 10%. On the midterm and the final, each worth 10% of your grade. We'll use Respondus Lockdown Browser and video monitoring. And that's a kind of a requirement that they ask to monitor honesty in taking your exams with those two. Homework is 30% and quizzes are 15. So, again, if you decide not to do any homework, then you're missing 30% out of your 100% total for the class. The best you could get is a 70 if you get 100% on all of these. So really, the best thing to do is just to do each of these categories and do the best you can. Now, grades 90, 80, 70, 60, I do round up. So if you end up with an 89.5, I round up to a 90. So that would be an A. Homework assignments, again, we do them individually, not as a class. And if they're late, I do dock 10% for late homework, which is not a lot. And 9 is better than a 10 a 9 out of 10 is better than a 0 out of 10. So even if it's late, it's best to just go ahead and do the homework assignment. And I explain that in more detail in another drop-down box. Tests, they're given online tests, and each are worth 100 points, and I use Respond as lockdown and video monitoring. And here's about the final exam. Make sure that you get a 60% or above. You can kind of look this over. Here are the competencies, which are the minimum required topics for the class. Sometimes we'll do a few extra, but this is the minimum that has to be covered. So here again, minimum course requirements, 30% homework, 15, just kind of reiterating that. The 35, the exams, the 5 of them, it's a Respond as Lockdown browser, and then the midterm and a comprehensive final are Respond as Lockdown browser with video monitoring. Academic honesty, an education is as good as you make it, so try to do the best you can. And now here, this is a tentative, and I want to stress tentative course outline. The first 3 weeks, we'll be getting used to Pearson and Canvas and navigating both platforms. We'll be covering chapters 1 and 2, and then you'll have an exam within the first 3 weeks and hopefully start chapter 3. We'll see. Then we'll do chapters 3 and 4, weeks 4 and 5, and then have an exam. Week 6 and 7, we'll do chapters 5 and 6 with an exam and your midterm exam. And I'll be explaining the midterm again later as we get closer to time. Then after chapters 5 and 6, things get a little bit more difficult, so we'll only do one chapter at a time. So we'll have chapter 7 these 2 weeks. Chapter 8, this is when we start algebra, exponents, polynomials for the rest of the course. The review and final, I have week 14 and 15. So if something happens and we need to move some of these to week 14, it gives us a little bit of leeway. All right. So that just kind of talks about the grading, what we're going to be doing in class. If you have any questions, in the required Pearson My Math Lab. So again, make sure that you watch the videos in the Welcome to Class. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.